refugee flows. So why are this lot trying to make enemies of our neighbours? It makes no sense. Unless somebody is trying to distract us from, I don't know, something else.
Months in a row. Yeah. How does it help Britain to have an ostrich prime minister with his head in the sand?
There are claims of sexism in Parliament, Partygate investigation. So many people want to know, are you honest, Prime Minister?
He was the chief executive of a private company,
Stay on
or a board
buses
director.
all day
He would be long
to avoid using energy at home.
Promise.
What else should Elsie come back?
TLE been strung along for the past.
Strung along? I mean, yeah, does he take us for fools?
The Prime Minister should just know the gig's up. I gave a eulogy, and then afterwards I didn't even go to her house for a cup of tea. I drove back 3 hours from Kent to Staffordshire. Does the Prime Minister think I'm a fool?
When he kindly invited me to see him 10 days ago, I told him that I thought he should think very carefully about what was now in the best interest of our country and of the Conservative Party. And I have to tell him he no longer enjoys my support.
So either my right honourable friend had not read the rules, or didn't understand what they meant and others around him, or they didn't think the rules applied to number 10. Which was it?
Welcome to the first Team Low Expectations podcast. My name's Wildy and this is
Elliot.
Sound Guy. First, we're just going to tell you about why we're making the podcast to begin with. And that's because, to be honest, it's very rare that we see someone have a comeuppance. And in modern days, some people are just so fake, it's insane.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just ridiculous. And it's so obvious and so blatant. And people need to get called out on the shit. You know, when your actions don't meet your words, just don't speak at all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Don't say it to begin with.
Yeah, less damage if you don't say anything.
Yeah, exactly. Don't pretend to be something you're not. That's the key. And the first people we're going to be talking about in the video is going to be the current UK government. But I want to say that personally, I don't know about you, you can tell me after this, but we respect Conservatives in the fact that if you believe it's an ideology that is going to better society, then that's fair enough. We commend you for wanting what's best for Britain. But at the same time, this government is bad for everyone.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to drive home at the moment is it's not the individual Conservative, it's where the group's going itself at the moment.
The government is the head.
There's definitely some good people in the Conservative Party, but they're currently getting drowned out by
Boris Johnson,
and Rishi
Sunak. Let's call them out because we got the evidence for it.
Yeah.
So also, I thought I'd just mention some of this stuff we're going to be covering. It's not like classic politics. I feel like it is really quite shocking, and it kind of gives me personally hate free on Killer Keemstar vibes. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it is just it's so shocking.
Yeah, and we're gonna try and make this as accessible for everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
Not just restricted to the UK and not just restricted to people who are, keeping their eyes on politics.
Yeah, in fact, this is kind of to give people an update.
Yeah, it's just what
it really is like.
And everything that we're stating here is all sourced.
Yeah.
So,
and the thing is the sources we're actually going to be pulling from are not just left-leaning policy, because I admit I have a centre-left bias, but we actually made sure to use, coverage from all over the media, be it left, right, centre.
Yeah.
And even we have government documents later on, which is really fun to jump into.
Yeah. So
the arguments we're going to be covering today to make this point, and the point is, I hate to say it, but to me, it's a strong accusation to make, but it is that this British government no longer cares about the British people, the value Britain represents, the Ukrainians or the asylum seekers. They only care about furthering their own ambitions. They're self-interested, and that's not okay for government. You have to recognise that you're in a position of authority.
Yeah.
Lead by example, and just respect the people that elected you.
Yeah, when you mention about the Ukrainians as well, we know they're helping
Yeah, military aid.
Military aid is really good, but
we will explain.
It's more for the people who are seeking asylum in
people
UK.
seeking asylum, and the initial economic measures the UK took against Russia was not good enough, and we'll explain that.
Yeah, but this is what we'll get into. It's just a short summary.
So the arguments we're going to be covering first. The first one is sentiment. The second one is the cost of living crisis. 3 is virtue signalling. The 4th argument is LGBTQ rights. The 5th argument will be Rwanda asylum policy. The 6th argument will be Ukraine. And the final thing will just be like some extra pieces, but I'll talk a little bit about the ministerial code probably.
We'll timestamp this all in the videos as well, so you'll be able to see.
Yeah, you can skip to whatever interests you. So the first argument is sentiment, and this is really to kind of give you guys a foundation for what we want to be arguing today, and show you that it's not just our opinions, but it's the opinions of many people in the UK and abroad. So in order to do this, we have to give you a sense of Partygate.
Yeah.
Because Partygate was something that essentially really broke the trust between the public, and a lot of the evidence we have is in light of Partygate. You know what I mean? It's a response.
Well, this is what when we first thought about the podcast, this was back when, I think just a bit after Partygate, but now since we're doing it now, Partygate's been hammered pretty. Yeah,
exactly.
So we're not gonna touch on it loads, but it still needs to be mentioned to cover the whole story.
Definitely. Elliot, just to let you know, the PM was reported to have attended 6 out of 12 events held during UK COVID lockdowns, which they mandated. The lockdowns restricted people to groups of 2 outdoors, put caps on funerals, seeing loved ones in hospitals, or just having a beer at the pub with your mates, you know what I mean? And I think it's important for us to mention that we understand why people will be really upset at people who broke the rules, and also why some people may have broken the rules. But an important distinction to make there is any viewers watching this, any citizen of the UK, none of you were mandating these rules. You weren't making us follow these rules. He was, and he didn't abide by them.
Yeah.
He was found guilty of breaking the law, in fact. Both him and his Chancellor received a fixed penalty notice, which is essentially a fine for attending one of the events. One of the events had over 100 people invited by his chief aide to a garden party. And right now we'll play a clip by Peter Stevanovic that essentially breaks down this event, and he uses a lot of facts, and it's a good video.
Yeah, it's a good clip. We'll play that in the background now also.
And when I went into that garden just after 6 on the 20th of May, 2020, to thank groups of staff before going back into my office 25 minutes later to continue working, I believed implicitly that this was a work event.
Earlier that day, the Prime Minister's principal private secretary, Martin Reynolds, had sent an email to about 100 Downing Street staff.
Hi all. After what has been an incredibly busy period, we thought it would be nice to make the most of this lovely weather and have some socially distanced drinks in the number 10 garden this evening. Please join us from 6 p.m. and bring your own booze.
Number 10 say the Prime Minister never saw the email.
It's extremely unlikely he could have invited 100 people to a party in the Downing Street garden without the assent of the Prime Minister.
At 5 p.m, 1 hour before the event began, Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden reiterated the rules at the government's daily COVID update.
You can meet one person outside your household in an outdoor public place.
This is how the BBC's Laura Kunsberg described the event which then took place.
30 people attended, including, according to 2 eyewitnesses, the Prime Minister and his wife, with a long table set out in the garden for drinks and snacks. This is utterly indefensible.
The Metropolitan Police agree. Sources have told ITV News the Met has issued Downing Street staff with a tranche of fines for attending the event, so there's no longer any doubt this was a law-breaking party. On January 12th, the Prime Minister also told MPs this.
With hindsight, I should have sent everyone back inside.
In other words, he conceded he was the person at this law-breaking party who had the authority to break it up and that he should have done so. But this is what he told Parliament on December 1st.
All guidance was followed completely during number 10.
The Prime Minister may not have received a fine for the event on May 20th, 2020, at least not yet. But what we do know is the
Bring Your Own Booze
party broke the law. We know the Prime Minister spent 25 minutes at this law-breaking event, and he now admits he should have broken it up. We also know he repeatedly told Parliament there were no parties, which was completely untrue.
So, what did you make of the clip?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
what we covered so far.
It starts off. It doesn't look good when you've got someone inviting people, especially 100 people.
100 people.
And then
just to make a note on that as well, the Institute of Government director, I believe, in the video that we play, happens to also say that it's extremely unlikely that Boris Johnson was unaware of this happening.
Yeah.
He attended the event. You made a super good point. Did he just walk out into his garden and see,
I mean,
he dotted that, nice.
At the end of the day, I know it's his house for the
his
time
house.
that he's working there. So to say that officially, I think he said that he didn't know about it at first.
Yes, he did. He said there was no parties at first.
So he said there were no parties, and if I sent an email out in my job to 100 people
during COVID
without permission from anyone, it would have been seen immediately.
Down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another really good point to make. It's like he claims in the video, he also claims it's a work event, but no one else was having work events during COVID.
No, and most people working from home are furloughed.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was literally illegal to have work events.
Yeah.
So,
and it's the sort of thing of, why would you even get to that point?
Yeah.
You know that you've told your entire country to lock down and not go out and not do things.
And you're breaking your own rules.
And you've got to see the
he admits to it.
Irony in it.
He doesn't even argue to break any.
No, and when you see him in some of the PMQs, he doesn't even.
Yeah.
He doesn't even.
How much does the real question is? How much does he actually think he can walk all over the British public? Do you know what I mean? He holds us accountable to these standards. People receive fines from the Home Offices. Some people probably got put in jail, and this guy is literally slurping it back.
Let's put it in the interpretation of if a workplace did it, and they all got fixed penalty fines. People will lose their jobs.
Definitely, people would lose their jobs. So why isn't he?
Yeah, and he said that it didn't happen, so he's directly lied to.
Well, we can't say that. We can't say he's direct. He might have misled, which might be a breach of ministerial code. But
it's
not looking good. 6 out of 12 events he attended, 12 events total. Do you know what I mean? That to me is a culture. It's not a one-time event. It's a culture.
Even going before Partygate and before even COVID, I still think there's a massive drinking
issue in number 10.
Culture in number 10.
Yeah,
I think.
Someone did report that, didn't they?
Yeah, you don't drink and drive, so why would you drink and work at the same time?
It went so well for Blizzard.
Yeah,
exactly. They did so well. So anyway, now we've given you a gist of Partygate. I think that's an okay.
Yeah, I think it's been hammered home a lot. I guess it just informs people who are not really who are not in this country.
Actually, so
that's the layman's terms of that, really.
Yeah. So the UK public, though, seems to largely hold the same opinion as us guys. As Winham reported a YouGov poll, which indicates that 73% of the UK population has a negative view of politics after this scandal. A YouGov poll on the 25th of May 2022 found that 59% of Britons wanted Johnson to resign. A YouGov poll published on the 12th of April 2022 found that 57% of the public wanted him to resign. An IPOS poll found Britons think Johnson should resign by a 2-1 margin, published on the 14th of April 2022.
I mean, just look at the first YouGov poll with the indication of 73% of the UK population had a negative view of politics. That doesn't just hurt the Conservative Party. That hurts Parliament in general.
Yeah, it's the entire democracy.
Yeah,
everyone would not be pleased.
No.
Oh no, I'm not brave enough for politics.
That's a high number. That is an incredibly high number.
It is. It's over 9,000.
It's over 9,000!
Yeah, that's...
It's staggering because the thing is we now have a prime minister that has broken the law, right? So, do we think it's acceptable as a country for a prime minister to be able to break the law, whatever that may be, and not have a public vote about it? Do you know what I mean? If
No.
the Labour government did this, the Conservatives would be saying the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Anyone in Britain really should be saying the same thing because the idea of a prime minister breaking the law and getting away with it is dangerous.
Especially when you've got polls like this.
Yeah.
I mean, 73% is, and that's just for the, that's just on politics in general. What was the one for Johnson in general? 59% wanting to resign.
Yeah.
I mean,
59, 57.
59, it's over half, and that's over half of I don't know how large the poll was.
Yeah, you know how democracy is meant to be about the will of the
people.
This guy clearly still
doesn't.
The will
Yeah,
of the
and it's destroying democratic Britain. It's
the reason why he's doing it, right? And this is something to put into. This is a bit technical, a little bit here, but I'll explain it in a really easy way. Hopefully. We're not like America. America has a codified constitution, which means that all the rights are essentially written down and entrenched and really hard to remove. Whereas in Britain, our democracy is run by essentially president, which can change. And this is what the Prime Minister's done. He's now set a precedent that it's okay for a Prime Minister to break the law and then carry on running. So it opens the door for a more extreme Prime Minister. And people might say that'll never happen in Britain. But, like, modern day, women's votes, the 1960s black rights movement, all this kind of stuff, that's all recent history. We need to really work hard to preserve the democracies that we have.
Yeah.
And literally, a few years ago, the Congress got stormed. Do you know what I mean? People say it could never happen, but the Congress got stormed, so we should be vigilant about these things, I think.
Yeah, because the last place you'd expect stuff like this to be happening would be in the West, in terms of a failure of democracy.
Exactly. That's why it's not okay.
Because the West, especially, pushing democracy, not necessarily where it should go.
Yeah.
In terms of, to be the forerunners of it and also have it fail.
Yeah, I know.
It's not good. It's not good.
This is the problem because it is opening the door for a real failure, and that's not okay. We need to work hard to protect it. And again, it just shows his selfishness and the lack of integrity for his office. You know what I mean?
We wouldn't be making this podcast
if it wasn't so bad.
If Boris had got, if we did a referendum,
yeah,
and we listened to the polls.
Yeah. Well, actually, I personally think there should be an election.
Oh yeah, 110%. There should be.
Even if Labour's not ready for it, I don't.
And this is not just a flat out for the Conservatives. This is just for. I'd want this to happen for anyone.
Exactly, same. That's why.
If the leader isn't fit to rule the
country,
they're doing clear stuff that is against democracy.
Yeah, and the thing is it gets better because it's not just the public that seems to share that sentiment. It's actually a lot of his own government. Recently, there was a vote of no confidence in Boris Johnson, and 41% of his own party voted against him. A vote of no confidence is essentially the party deciding whether or not they want the Prime Minister to remain in power, who is our senior official, like the top dog. But the 41% majority, the 41% minority, I guess it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
41% of his own party voted against him. That's actually smaller than previous conservative PMs who have resigned for having votes of no confidence.
I think Theresa May's one, isn't she?
Yeah, so I've got the numbers.
Yeah.
It's smaller than John Major's in 1995 by 5%. Smaller than Theresa May's in 2018 by 4%. And it's only 4% above some of people's favourites, 90. So, and all them Conservatives resigned after a vote of no confidence. Whether or not you agree with the policies or not, at least he had a bit of integrity in one.
Yeah, and with these votes, especially for Theresa May, the votes is where she still won.
Yeah,
they still won
all these major.
All the major ones. Sorry, they still won by a majority, but still left.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. They felt that you know, it's if you look at it in broad terms, if a good percentage of your party don't agree with your leadership in the country, you should resign.
I agree.
And then you have. Well, I think we're going to move on to.
You know, if you were to look at it really, like, technically, what you would say is 41% of his own party don't trust him, right? That 41% is elected officials. You know what I mean? They're sent there to represent the people, and 41% of the people who are now standing for the Conservatives no longer think he's fit to rule.
Well, yeah, as you perfectly said, these are people who have been elected by their local communities.
Yeah.
And they're expressing their local community's views.
Exactly.
And if, what was it, 41%? It's close enough, and it's
close.
Yeah. So what's where are we up to next?
So the party lacks faith in Boris pretty much. His policy have also faced critiques from charity groups such as Freedom from Torture, which we'll get into later. His Rwanda policy was called appalling by Prince Charles, and the Church of England leaders told Johnson his Rwanda policy shames the UK. So the monarchy, church, also not the biggest fans, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the biggest sway is charity groups in my eyes, because you know.
Hell yeah. How much more conservative can it get than church?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm trying to say? Even conservatives don't like him.
Yeah, and Prince Charles, that's a big hit for conservatives.
Yeah, Prince Charles is a really stout. Well, we won't get into that. This is.
But in terms of right wing, and you know, like you'd expect the royal family to be behind, but you know, if
well, because
this. Yeah, go on.
I was going to say the royal family are actually good public servants in a way, and have actually abided by the rules. So
look at.
I actually trust the royal family's interpretation more than I trust his.
More than Boris Johnson's, yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
It's just scandalous.
And yeah, you've got big people, big heads of and leaders clearly against a policy that even like a 10-year-old would know is
bad,
a terrible idea.
Yeah, but we'll get into the.
But yeah, we'll get into that policy.
Yeah, this is still just setting.
We're still setting the foundation on
what other people think, not even like what we think on the actual evidence. So, his now second chief ethics advisor has just resigned. I think his name's Lord Guy.
Lord Guy, yeah.
Lord Guy. He claimed he was, quote, placed in an impossible and audacious position, end quote, in his resignation letter, because the Prime Minister essentially put him in a position where he'd either have to break the ministerial code or resign. It's the 16th of June. Everyone's reporting it, and I figured we'd timestamp it, and the reason why we timestamped it right there is because I know that tomorrow, or the day after, or the day after that, there's just going to be another fucking amazing.
Yeah. In this summary as well, we might as well put it in here. That it seems to be covering scandals with scandals, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like a rolling thunder of trying to like look over here and
exactly. And I think it may even be like, you know, like the boiling frog kind of technique. Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
Where it's like
if you put the frog in, it'll jump out.
Yeah,
if you boil it slowly,
it will actually
get them used to.
Exactly.
To a like chaotic.
Exactly. Because it's just every day now, isn't it?
Yeah, and you get to the point where you hear something like, you know, something stupid in Parliament's happened, and you're like, yeah, I can believe that.
Russia's literally like invading another democracy, and instead we have news about Conservatives not being comfortable about when they were wearing dresses in Parliament.
Yeah, watching porn.
Watching porn. Let's go. Elliot. Do you watch porn in work?
No. I'd lose my job.
Yeah, I think I'd probably. To be fair, he did lose.
He did lose his job. That was probably. But
he admitted to it. He actually took someone responsible.
Well,
the actual Conservative government could learn a thing or two from that guy. Not the watching porn part, but
I don't know if it's true. Didn't he say it was wrong, and then he came out and said that he did it? I'm pretty sure it's in the interview.
He did do that, but
we'll find it.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Well, it's a side note. Everyone knows that happened. Like,
it's sad that we've got to say at least he resigned.
Yeah, at least he went.
Yeah, because you shouldn't have to say that. It should just be common.
Just what though? He actually took responsibility, which is a big thing.
Which is big for the current party.
Yeah, because
taking thingy of what they've done.
But we'll get on.
Yeah, we'll carry on.
So again, though, I just wanted to make another point. So there's a lot of hoo-ha on whether or not the Prime Minister broke the ministerial code with Partygate. And just to note it, you guys can keep a mental note of this one. Now we've got the second one where if Lord Geit's to believe the Prime Minister put him in a position where he would have had to break the code or resign. So that means the Prime Minister was willing to break the code.
Yeah,
according to Lord Geit.
Wasn't
what we can deduce.
The quote also putting in a something position, putting a
principle and audacious. Sorry.
Yeah, so putting your ethics advisor in a.
This is his second ethics advisor.
Second in what, a year, 2 years?
I don't know when the first one went.
Two. It's been 2.
Yeah, so you know, if your company went through 2 ethics advisors, I'd feel like
it's like
me out of there.
It's like going through. It's like going through like HR.
Yeah, exactly. It's terrible.
It's like you know there's something wrong when
your company's that bad, but like your HR decides to walk. They're like, we can't do it anymore.
No, we can't handle it.
Just you pushed the team.
Yeah, but it's it's showing its colours.
It is. Now this is another one that just gives you guys more information on how other people feel about it. Nicola Sturgeon on the 14th of June motioned a second Scottish independence referendum. Quoting her, "This is a UK government that has no respect for democracy, and we saw again yesterday it has no regard for the rule of law either." That was her quote. Now the thing is, you know, like there might be tension between people from England and Scotland, but if you want to really like look at it in a practical sense, and you really want what's best for Britain, Scotland and England, we're better off together, I would say, because we can leverage. We're more powerful on the international stage. We have more resources, you know, we've got more people, etc., all the boring stuff. But now the Prime Minister's created a situation where we're about to probably end up having another Scottish referendum, and he may actually leave.
Yeah. It just shows how much of a weaker position he's put
Britain in.
Put Britain in, and put you know, the entire of the UK.
Yeah,
and because if Scotland goes as well, you know, it might have a knock-on effect.
I think it could, because these policies aren't nice. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's and it you know, it's not even just the policies. It's like a frat house in it at the moment.
Yeah,
it's just run like a. No one cares.
No one.
It doesn't feel like it's occurred.
We don't care about us, so you just want to try and get some favour with voters and keep power. They're obsessed with power, I want to say.
Yeah.
It's a strong accusation to make, but I feel like the evidence doesn't lie. We will get into it.
Yeah.
But I just thought we'd wrap up this point on sentiment then. So overall, the public, his party, the church, the monarchy, the SNP, Ireland, EU, all don't trust him, right? So how is this still a democracy? Nobody wants him. The man was found guilty of breaking the law, and the public still haven't had a say. He's facing critique from everyone. So, like, why is he still here? If it was where I was, he'd be gone.
He's just getting the job done now, isn't he?
He's getting the job done. He loves saying that.
He's getting the job done.
Getting the job done. He's probably, you know, necking back a Corona as he says it. Yeah. What do you rate he drinks? What do you rate he
Well, I think he's a wine man. He's got to be. He's big, so
he enjoys the cheese as well.
Yeah, wine and cheese guy.
You're very Pretty Patel feeds and grapes.
Yeah, definitely.
I think so. Suzanne Reid, we might be able to play a clip for this.
And it seems remarkable that before we get into talking about Ukraine, so many people want to know, are you honest, Prime Minister?
I think yes, and I think that the best way to judge that is to look at what this government says it's going to do and what it does.
And we'll get to that in a minute. I just want a straight answer. You're an honest speaker.
Yes.
We'll decide. Yeah. Suzanne Reid, though, asked the Prime Minister if he was honest on Good Morning Britain, to which the Prime Minister said, and I'll quote the Prime Minister right now, "I think, yes. I think that the best way to judge that is look at what this government has said it's going to do and what it does." End quote. Okay. okay, so we're going to be able to use his own metrics here to work out if he's being honest. And by extension, we'll say, like, if the government's good off this as well. I feel like that's a good way of telling him. Because essentially what he said there is judging by his actions.
Yeah, judge me by my actions and not my, like...
Right, not words, but I don't know why you would want that particularly.
And... Because, his actions are worse than his words.
Oh, yeah, we will to see that.
Yeah.
Definitely, the actions are way worse than the words.
Yeah, I think, it's a very dodgy line to say.
Definitely. And now we're getting into the meat of it, the cost of living crisis.
Let the energy companies invest, and at the same time, why don't you impose a windfall tax on the profits, just one-off? Your job is to help people pay their bills.
Yes. This is our first point.
Currently the biggest issue in the UK currently.
So just to give you guys an understanding of what it is, the UK is currently facing a cost of living crisis with numerous outlets reporting the biggest fall in living standards since the 1950s. A massive spike in energy bills, inflation, slow wage growth have created a lot of pressure on lower income and middle class households, for some resulting in having to choose between heating and eating. 2.8 million children in poverty, and that's expected to rise due to the crisis. Yet in this time of great hardship for the UK citizens, PM and his government have had to be dragged kicking and screaming to finally help the British people by doing a windfall tax and taxing the energy companies. And the point that I really want to make clear as we go through this point is I would say the timeline that we're going to give you really actually shows that Johnson potentially did this because he realised it was the biggest issue in Britain, not because he actually cared about the British people suffering.
It was forced.
Yeah, exactly.
It was public. It was driven by enough people shouting. Basically.
Yeah, well, we can skip a little bit down it because it is a bit further down, but I have got it in here somewhere, I think. So YouGov puts the economy as the top issue for Britain. At 64%, next to health at 41% in June. Statistica puts the economy at 61% in May 2022, with health second, following at 36%. So it's clearly the most important issue to most British voters, and that's why we're putting it first. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
we're not going to backtrack it like the current government tried to do. We're going to, we'll tackle it.
We're going to do it. We'll do it. But it's the most important thing. People want to hear about.
Because it's got so many knock-on effects as well.
Definitely. So we got this timeline of events I've created. Okay.
Are we going from back to?
Yeah. So this is going to be like since somebody began talking about the beginning of windfall tax and things like that. You get what I mean?
Yeah. So from its first arrival to Parliament to its final inclusion.
Yeah. So the opposition, Labour, called for a windfall tax in January 2022. 5 months later, the government finally enacted the windfall tax. Right?
Yep.
At the time, in January 2022, the trade body Energy UK predicted bills would go up to 50% in April, as reported January 9th. So the government had time to plan for this. All right, that's something else to really consider. We're at least aware to some extent that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
The windfall tax, this is what the actual windfall tax is for anyone who doesn't know. The windfall tax basically taxes energy and oil companies' profits and then gives that money to UK citizens to help deal with escalating costs. This makes sense because these companies are making huge profits. BP reported making $5 billion in the first quarter of 2022. That's double last year's first quarter profits in the same amount of time. Shell's making $7.3 billion in the first 3 months. That's nearly triple the amount of last year. Staggering money.
And it's at the end of the day, it's oil, so it's not got too much of a. It's usually quite a steady in terms of price. Yeah. It doesn't usually fluctuate that much unless obviously external things happen like COVID and stuff like that. So it's to be racking in these profits, something has to be. It doesn't just happen because they're good at the job.
Well, the thing is with these companies is the important thing to remember is these companies are making the money, but There's actually a committee hearing where one of the energy representatives say it, where he says basically, it's not our job to make sure people can pay the bills. That's a government's
job, yeah.
And there's going to be a serious issue where people can't pay the bills.
Yeah.
And energy, this is another thing about this windfall tax. Everybody was saying it was a good idea before they finally did it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It felt like everyone was. I'm pretty positive it was BP's ex-CEO said it was good. Pretty positive the current CEO of BP said he was impartial to it.
Which is not bad. It doesn't care.
So he like, we'll do
so
it.
It's what we, to put it straight, it's a win-win.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
But
a bit more context, so this is where we get a bit more funky. Yeah, the PM's government actively denied Labour's request for a windfall tax to help all UK citizens. Martin Lewis, on the 30th of March 2022, pleaded with government ministers to help families with the cost of living crisis. For those who don't know, Martin Lewis is basically a money-saving expert here in the UK. He does a lot to help families get by and things like that, I guess you would say.
Yeah, he's just, as you said, he's like the money man.
But he's also politically neutral.
Yeah, which is a really good to quote him on stuff, and it's good to get his opinion on things.
This is what makes it so interesting is now we have Martin Lewis is literally coming out against the government, and he's been politically neutral for the longest time. And that really shows, again, it's along the same lines as the podcast. We're doing it because it's not okay.
It's like
it's different now.
You know something wrong. Something's wrong in the government.
UK politics isn't a good thing normally, right? That's an okay opinion to hold, but now it is worse.
Yeah, it's at its worst that it's ever been.
And a good way to look at this is a brief point, but I just want to touch on the code. So there's going to be a lot of talk about if he broke the ministerial code. But the best way I think ordinary people really should understand the ministerial code as is basically politicians are known for being slimy people, right? Deceivers, manipulative. The ministerial code is essentially like a set of guidelines they have to follow.
Yep.
When you breach the ministerial code, you are essentially removing guidelines that we can hold politicians accountable by. So they'll become even more slimy and slippery, do you get what I mean? It's not good for Britain. We already have an issue with honesty in politics. And if he breaks the code, which he's doing multiple times, he did it for Priti Patel regarding bullying, which we'll get to. But it's insane. It's just really insane. But this is where it gets wild, Elliot. Okay, I don't know if I read you this bit, but this stuff is the evidence that okay. The PM's complete inability to comprehend the situation, right, was shown by the fact on April 27th it was reported that the PM ordered his ministers to find non-fiscal solutions to the cost of living crisis. For those who don't know what non-fiscal means, it basically means no new money. The suggestions that got put up forward was to cut MOTs.
Increase them to 2 years as well instead of every 1 year like they currently are.
Yeah.
Which is only going to put people at more risk
than
it is. It's going to hurt more people than it. And just to give you a view of MOTs cost, I think 50 quid currently round about.
So what you say 40, 50 quid a year?
40, 50 quid a year. So so it'd save people 40, 50 quid a year.
Pretty insane, isn't it?
Which, if you look at the cost increase,
like what people are actually having to deal with.
And national insurance increased by 1.25%.
Fuel has gone up as well.
So if you add fuel and the national insurance increase, you blow national insurance. You blow MOT.
Definitely, it's nothing. And interestingly, not the only people who have that opinion, Torsten Bell, the director of the Resolution Foundation think tank, these guys are essentially experts, said that the government had, quote, lost the plot by thinking something like this could have a meaningful impact on people's lives. And The Guardian, we use The Guardian for this because it has references regarding Torsten Bell, but you're open to find it because it's so widely reported, this stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know, and the thing is people argue about media dishonesty. The Prime Minister, we can't do he's pretty much lied.
Yeah.
It looks like he lied. But that's up to you to determine. 6 events he attended, 12 total.
Yeah.
Wine on the walls, cleaners said.
Bullying cleaners and
nice.
security members.
Good work environment.
Definitely not showing one rule for one and one rule for the others. So.
And now we get to draw a little bit of a comparison. We're not quite up to Rwanda yet, but I feel like it's worth just mentioning. So,
because it's in the cost of
because what people don't realise about this Rwanda policy is the government actually spent 120 million getting a deal, right? Guess what the deal included?
Go on.
Nothing.
No.
It was just basically a piece of paper saying, "Oh yeah, we'll do this." So the actual cost of the individuals, how many people were going to get sent, none of that stuff was actually worked out when they announced the policy. So they essentially spent 120 million on a press release because there was no actual substance to the deal, no actual substance to the policy. Moreover, the policy is estimated to cost 3 times more per person for the UK. So I don't know where he's going to get that money from. Taxpayers? Are we going to pay more for it, or is he going to? Where's he going to get the money?
It should have been non-fiscal like that.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing.
It's stupid.
It's fiscal for us, the UK citizens. Yeah. This is an important point to make because it goes for Conservative, Labour, everyone. For us, he's not willing to give any money, but sending people to Rwanda,
flying people to Rwanda.
People who could be potentially victims of, torture and human trafficking, flying them.
And also, flying is one of the most the most inefficient way of getting people to certain areas.
I did not know.
In terms of fuel cost, especially now.
That makes sense. Well, I think it was yesterday when the flight was meant to take off.
Mm-hmm.
My question, what I was wondering is, Preet Patel all the way through the day was saying that the flights were going to take off. Did they keep the plane running? Was that just burning petrol?
They must have, because if it was just before flight, they would have definitely had the plane.
But it looked good for PR, didn't it? When the plane engines.
And it's insane how much money they're willing to spend
on this, but not their own people.
Yeah,
and that shows what the priorities are at. Do you know what I mean? The priorities aren't with the British people.
No,
they're with keeping power in themselves. That's what that is the reality of it. So finally, the PM gave us a windfall tax on the 26th of May, which is going to raise around $5 billion. I think that's £400 each for each UK citizen. That's 5 months, though, after Labour asked for it. 2 months after Martin Lewis had to plead with government ministers on TV, and a month after he came up with his non-fiscal idea.
So, in all, the PM might be patting himself on the back for putting this through now, but it's effectively not him who's put this through.
Yeah, and those 5 months of people suffering.
He's ineffectively. I don't want to go as far as to say that he's killed anyone.
Yeah, he definitely.
But he's put,
that was not.
He's put a lot of people in a lot worse a position than
he would have
been.
Do you know, and this isn't a point I want to make here. So people were calling for it way earlier, and that to me suggests that their motives were to help the British people. And now he did it because potentially, it's now the most salient issue in British politics, which means an important issue for us to deal with.
Yeah.
So he's done it. He might have done it for those. I mean, I managed to get the statistics to put it first.
But yeah.
So you'd expect him to have done the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But if you read it, it's not him.
Yeah.
In the end. Then it wasn't him. Was it Labour who put it through first?
Yeah, Labour wanted it 5 months before we got it on the docket, so insane. So what is next? Well, let's see what we've got here. Oh yeah, so now I thought I'd just make a little comment about the economy when it comes to this as well. So The Express reported on the 13th of June 2022 that in 2023 Britain's GDP is expected to swell by 1.2%, which would be the lowest projected annual growth rate in the G7. So it's clear these economy tactics aren't working. And the point I really want to make is, whether you're Conservative or Labour, right, you know that the economy works by people being able to buy things.
Yeah.
People have no money.
Well, yeah, and his hesitation with the windfall tax has only made it even worse.
So what's going to happen here is people can't buy things. So let's say, people are having to choose between heating and eating. How many people do you think are going to be buying things for the hobbies? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
New boots or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's going to hurt British businesses because they're not going to be getting the profits.
Nobody's going to be spending, and it's going to be. again, like we said, cost of living is so important because it has so many knock-on effects.
Yeah.
Because the less people get money, the less they spend, and then the commercial fails, and then we're all in
the shit.
The shit.
Definitely. Next up, this one's kind of a petty one almost, I guess I want to say. Virtue signalling.
There's no help if you try.
No help below.
Imagine there's no virtue.
This is the government that loves the railways.
And I think this argument is really here to show you the disconnect between the government and what it's like for ordinary people in the UK. And we're going to do this by doing what Boris Johnson suggested and looking at what the government does and what it says it's going to do. And one of them things is virtue signalling. Just to give you guys an idea of what I mean by this, it's essentially they're pretending to be relatable. They're acting like they have the same issues as us.
Yeah, like they're your friends.
Yeah, they want us to believe that they are like them.
Yeah,
but they're not. They're not like us. Don't fall for it, and we'll prove it to you. So, and another thing I want to make a point of here is like that is actually part of politics, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like politics often lie when it comes to their image and things like that, but this is so egregious and so insulting that it's amazing. I think, especially when you take it into perspective. And right now, the best way to show it is by showing you a little clip from Good Morning Britain, I believe, where Suzanne Reid is interviewing the Prime Minister.
To individuals. And I'm going to give you some examples because we get emails all the time, Prime Minister, about this. You have said that individuals have to make choices about what they spend their money on. You're on record as saying that, okay? And I want to ask you then about a number of our viewers who have got in touch with us about the choices that they're making. Elsie is 77. She's a widow and she's a pensioner who lives in a council house. She receives a pension of £170 a week. Her energy bills have gone, get this, from £17 a month to £85 a month.
Yeah.
She will pay an additional £816 a year. To cut down on spending, Prime Minister, Elsie has now resorted to eating one meal a day. She's 77 years old. She's losing weight. She goes to the supermarket at the end of the day to buy yellow sticker discounted items. She gets up early in the morning to use her Freedom Bus Pass to stay on buses all day to avoid using energy at home. What else should Elsie cut back on?
Well, I don't want Elsie to cut back on anything. Let's talk about Elsie and what we're doing. And just remind you that the 24-hour Freedom Bus Pass was something that I actually introduced. Just parenthetically.
Marvellous. So Elsie should be grateful to you for her bus pass. But what else should she cut back on?
There are plenty of things that we are doing. So what we want to do is make sure that we have people who who are in particular hardship looked after by their councils. So we're putting much more money into local councils. We have the particular payments for to help elderly people, in particular, with the cost of heating. But look, Susanna,
She already qualifies for that.
And I'm going to accept.
I'm asking you now, what does Elsie cut back on now?
I don't want Elsie to have to cut back on anything, and we will make sure.
But Prime Minister, her energy bills have gone up to £85 a month.
And the best answer is to help her abate the cost of energy as we are, but also
through a loan that she has to pay back?
To make sure there's a direct cut in her council tax as a result of what we're doing, plus the
she doesn't
the
qualify
warm
for the
home,
council
plus the
tax
Warmer Homes
rebate
allowance,
as her home
plus
comes
the winter
under
fuel
bad debt.
allowance. There are measures that we put in place to help people, but I'm not
Prime
going to
Minister,
pretend to you.
can't say anything.
So, after that video, essentially, what I really want to focus on is his initial reaction to the question, and he essentially takes credit for the Freedom Bus Pass, or I believe that's what it's called. Yeah, the Freedom Bus Pass. He's so desperate to look good for votes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if you heard that story, you would really hope that he would really actually feel something for the woman that Susan Reid's talking about and be concerned about her, but instead he's too busy being like, I did that.
Yeah, he'd rather sidetrack it and
take credit.
Right, take credit for something
than actually deal with this.
Than deal with an issue. Yeah.
Well, it's a woman that she's talking about. You know what I mean? How insensitive do you have to be?
Yeah.
It's just insensitive. It's just so outrageous.
Not even good at virtue signaling.
No.
Which is the.
Well, this one's just egregious, isn't it?
Yeah,
so like you say, it's like
it's.
Oh well, quotations potentially might not occur, I guess.
Well, yeah. If you're being really, if you want to be,
these
really,
are our opinions, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm just implicating us.
Yeah, it's our opinions in it, but we're part of the British public.
Yeah, we are. And
so
if they've got an issue, don't sue us. Speak to us.
Yeah.
Don't speak to us. We'll have you down here. We'll say this to your faces. Let's go. I want to ask them questions. To be fair, would you not love?
Well, they wouldn't want to answer any of these questions.
No, they wouldn't.
They'd want to. They want to tell you they're trying to get the job done.
Well, this is. Oh yeah, they would say that. Oh, they're getting the job done.
What job?
What were? Wait, are you sending people abroad?
Yeah.
Nice. That's it. That's all you've done. So yeah, but it is just amazing that his response is like that. And something else which is amazing, Elliot, is he doesn't feel really sympathy, I think, because he's lived a very cooking lifestyle, and he's not he's not seen any issues with money firsthand. He's not had to deal with anything like that.
Yeah, and if we really wanted to, we could, it'd take, not in this podcast, but if we go back 2015 end of it, he's not. There's so many things that he's shown him to be a bad character.
Yeah, he's outrageous.
And
we just picked some
probably for another video. To be honest.
Well, the thing is, we could make so many videos about
he's probably the most problematic person. That,
I actually have some other suggestions for future episodes that I think might beat him out.
Yeah, definitely.
But the thing is with this is the people in future episodes who I have in mind, they're like, it's like on the sleeve, like the horrible.
Yeah.
These guys are at least, let's say they're not horrible, but they're subtly, you know what I mean? They've got a facade, I feel.
Yeah.
They're pulling wool over people's eyes.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, you can still see through it, sort of.
Well, if you put it together like this, you can definitely see it. You know what
I mean? If you look at it, look at all the information together, like we've got here. Yeah, but carry on.
Yeah, I'll give him some more information. So another one of Johnson's scandals, just to prove that he's lived a pretty nice life, was in May 2021 that got widely reported. So you can look at whatever media prefer for it. Where he received $58,000 from unknown Tory sources to refurbish his Downing Street apartment with wallpaper worth £840 per room. Again, numerous sources, including the Daily Mail, Architectural Digest, that's really hard to say, The Independent, and The Standard. A report said that Johnson has shown significant failings. When our Commander-in-Chief gets money from unknown sources. That's completely chill, that, isn't it?
Yeah, and these unknown sources that are funding such a very strange thing to be done to his, like refurbishing his house.
Yeah.
Like
I'd-
what like
Well, it's all right. It's all right. You don't understand. It was in lockdown. They had nothing to do. They were decorating.
like it's
Oh no, wait. They were actually partying. My bad. They were at events during lockdown.
So I want to know how £58,000 to refurbish his apartment helps better our country.
Yeah, all the Conservatives.
The party that he's working for.
It doesn't.
Like, did his house really need?
Yeah. And Elliot, can I? Why are you? You know, like, how many people just come up to you and go, "Here's 58,000."
Yeah, here's 58,000 to
That
refurbish.
happened to me.
Well, I don't know. We don't know if it was to refurbish his house. That's what he used it to refurbish his house. I don't know what the background is there because it looks like it's anonymous.
Well, the thing now, there's basically a text exchange, and we can probably put that up. But my understanding of it is essentially it was like a Tory donor was speaking to him, and he said like, "I'll sort it out. It's just me in the account." But the implication is that he's not accounted for. And the donor is the person who says this kind of might be illegal. We can't do it. I'm pretty positive that is the case. Look, if I'm wrong on that, we'll get the picture.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, then sack that point. But
no, yeah, we'll
we'll
investigate further when we edit it through. But we the stuff we've got in front of us is pretty
damning anyway.
And it's all straight. It's all straight from source. So we just add our little bit of
yeah.
But in terms of £58,000 from unknown sources, unknown sources is a bit weird.
It is weird.
And to refurbish an apartment
out of all things.
Yeah. You'd like people.
He's getting the premium wallpaper there. Do you know what I mean?
£840 per roll. It is not someone who understands what hard life is.
I agree.
Someone who understands the value of a roll of paper.
And the thing is, we'll mention this now. We don't hate successful people.
No, definitely not.
What we take issue is when you're, in this case, potentially jeopardising the national interest by taking money from someone and you don't know where the money's sourced.
And also, to clear it up, if he spent this out of his own...
He did, he ended up spending it. So once he got caught, he paid him back.
But in broad terms, it's still very dodgy.
Yeah, because he took the money. If he hadn't been caught, he would have never paid him.
No.
Probably.
Well, yeah. We're looking at that he paid for it to sort of settle things out, but in terms of in the full thing, it's still very weird.
It is very strange. It's not even the worst offender though.
No, this is quite light, to be honest.
This is
focused on this for quite a bit.
So Rishi Sunak up next. So because Rishi Sunak, I think he's just to let you guys know actually, Rishi Sunak is the UK Chancellor. He's in charge of the UK budget and economy and tax. He's second in charge to Boris Johnson right now, and I think he's by far the worst obvious offender for virtue signalling. And again, we're okay with success, but I think it's important to note here that Rishi Sunak's wife was found to be claiming non-dom status in the UK, meaning she didn't have to pay as much UK tax, still being registered as a citizen of India, not the UK. In fact, she saved millions in UK tax, while her husband was running the economy that taxed her. So the government has no money for fiscal policies for the people, but our Chancellor's wife has legally used a tax dodging loophole. Now, you tell me, Elliot, right? I feel like she should be deemed as a citizen of the UK when her husband is the guy running the show.
Yeah. If you are in Parliament, you've got to be a UK citizen for a start.
Yeah.
You've got to be a part of the UK, and it's just if you're in charge of the budget of the UK, you're the Chancellor.
You can't be caught doing this.
Well, it's not caught because it's legal, but
yeah, true. You're right.
But why?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
If you look at how rich she is,
no,
how much of just not a pain in the arse just paying that tax would be.
I agree.
Because if they investigated and she was paying tax, no, this would have just blown straight over.
What did you say about it was about the guy in charge of the Bank of England, right?
The governor of the Bank of England.
Yeah, do you want to? Because I just thought that it's I've completely forgot my train of thought. I'm going to be honest.
Was it about? Because he was telling people to stop taking
wage increases.
Yeah, so the governor will get a article up that where I found it. So the governor of the Bank of England because the interest rate went up.
Yeah.
Which is really bad.
Mm.
For the economy. He said that he's gonna not take a wage increase this year to help the economy.
Yeah.
And he then said that other people should do that as well, should take his action as well, since he's doing it. But
you guys on minimum wage, don't think about minimum wage.
You can't pay. You can't decide between eating food or heating your house.
Yeah,
but don't pay that wage increase.
What did he say? 30p a meal? That we're going.
Yeah, we'll get that. But just a little insight into the governor's the governor's wage, which I did a little bit of research on as well. He's on around about. I won't give an exact figure because I don't think it's fully known, but it's around the ballpark of £500,000 a year.
Nice, that's a lot.
Which, I mean,
it's a lot of money.
Is in like tens of thousands a month.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Which he doesn't work the entire year as well. I think it's something around 15 days. But
wait,
he works 15 days out the whole year.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure in the article it says. But we'll put up the article. If it's wrong, there'll be a giant text on the screen that says "Don't listen to that." But
if you're an audio listener,
if it's an audio listener, oh well. We'll beep it out. We'll beep it out. We'll cover ourselves. We'll redact it.
I like that. Yeah.
It's the least dodgiest thing in this country.
So should I carry on a bit on Mr. Sunak?
Yeah. Just to close off on that governor one.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's all right when you're on 500k taking a salary hit. Well, not salary hit. He's just saying he won't increase his salary anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't think people are going to take him seriously.
I agree.
Because why would you take someone who's on stupid amounts of money like that? And again, we're all for success. Be successful, but don't say stupid stuff
like that. Yeah.
Don't you're on enough money and you're the governor of the Bank of England. Surely you have enough intelligence to know that saying that publicly.
Also, I thought
is a complete disconnect.
The whole conservative ideology, which I guess the current country is meant to be run by, suggests that people should strive for individual success.
Yeah, so
you should take that wage increase by conservative logic, and really, I'd say by any logic, you should take a wage increase. I think the majority of people would be idiots not to take wage increase.
And the wage increase would technically hurt interest rate, the inflation, that interest rate, but it would increase spending.
Yeah,
it would increase spending in a way, but again, it's exactly, and it's just added on to the sooner.
It's kind of like insulting.
It's a complete disconnect.
Yeah, it is. But another point with this is it's like the guy said he's got no fiscal policies for us, and his wife legally dodge, swerve, whatever the correct term you want to use is, legally though, millions of British pounds. Why don't we get that money? Where is that money gone? You know what I mean? We're struggling here. Dodge tax.
Well, yeah, there's people that, I mean, rich people who probably can do this without having the Chancellor behind them. But it looks even worse having the Chancellor.
To be fair, I do think that was like the Chancellor wasn't aware of it initially and potentially. I feel like that might be the case.
Yeah, he might have been unaware of it.
Give him the benefit of the doubt.
But if we're given the benefit of the doubt,
we get this is
surely his wife would have an idea to go.
This is
maybe my husband being the Chancellor of the country that I currently am living in, but not living in, sort of.
Not as
technically, I should probably be paying the tax.
Yeah.
Would it hurt her? Probably not.
Labour actually said that they want to change legislation for that. Obviously, the Conservatives.
Yeah, the whole non-dom status is a bit.
It should be changed. Literally, they could make a piece of legislation where it literally is, if you're a minister of government, non-dom status is. They could literally make it so that it's suspended for like the amount of time your loved one is in office. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And then as soon as he's out, go back to normal. That would be better than what we currently have.
Well, yeah.
A legal way of dodging tax should not really exist. It is still dodging tax. So
yeah, and especially if you're the chancellor,
yeah,
it shouldn't be a thing that's it's just too it's too good.
It's taking advantage. It's taking advantage of the systems that they
Yeah.
expect us to follow. It's one rule
Yeah.
for them, another for all of us.
Yeah, exactly.
But it gets better, Elliot, because Sunak's wife also owns 0.93%. That's a 400 million stake in an IT company called Infosi. On the 12th of March, it was reported that the Chancellor was urging UK firms to leave Russia after the invasion of Ukraine. His wife's company is only just now being reported to leave Russia on April 13th, 2022, a month after the invasion, and only after being found out. This means if the company was continuing to operate in Russia, essentially it's fueling the Russian...
It was funding a one. Yeah.
The Shadow Chancellor called it blood money. That's the Labour's words for it, blood money. And the people that were working there are still getting taxed in Russia. So yes, that money could very well be going to the production of weapons or paying soldier salaries.
Yeah, the tax that company pays, and you think that there would be. I mean, it's just a complete.
These people have the audacity to say that they care for Ukrainians when
they're actively funding
Russia,
an invasion of a.
Whilst also telling us UK citizens to get out of Russia.
And the democratic, but they're funding an invasion of a democratic sovereign nation.
One rule for us, another for them.
Yeah.
No matter your political beliefs, that's what's happened.
No matter anyone. Well, if you support a democratic nation, this is a clear, complete. It's anti-democratic. It's
part of me wants to say the C word.
Yeah.
Not the swear one. But
No.
The other one. The other big one.
Have a P in it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does have a P in it.
But we'll not say that.
But wait, it gets better. Okay, Elliot. So the Mirror reported on the 1st of May the company still hadn't fully left Russia.
In May?
In May. Oh wait, where's May?
So May.
And the war started in March, right? Was it? It does have it somewhere on here, but whip it up on that bad boy. I love how laissez-faire this is. This is a very Team Low Expectations quality podcast. We hope you're enjoying it. It's vibes.
I think the higher the quality gets, the less it gets. The less natural it becomes. This is
like that. That's an excuse for us to do less work. Just stick with that.
Yeah. February the 24th, Russia's military operation started in the Ukraine.
February 24th.
Yeah.
So May, it said they left.
So February.
1, 2, 3,
4 months. 4 months.
That's according to the Mirror. The Mirror reported that. When Rishi Sunak, though, Elliot, get this. This is where we get to the virtue signalling bit, and this is so fake. Okay, this is outrageous as well. When Rishi Sunak was confronted on his wife's earning in Russia, he compared himself to Will Smith. To quote Rishi Sunak, he said, "But I feel on reflection, both Will Smith and me have our wives attacked. At least I didn't get up and slap anybody," he told a BBC News broadcast. And that's reported by the Mail, the Metro, so on. So it did happen. Can I just ask you a question, Elliot?
Yep, go on.
How do you think it's comparable to compare... Wait, first of all, let's just make a comment on the Will Smith situation. Will Smith shouldn't have slapped him. What's your verdict?
Yeah, definitely. It shouldn't have happened.
But Will Smith's wife did actually get a joke about a very real disease, alopecia.
Yeah.
Rishi Sunak's wife was confronted on earning blood money in a state that's trying to strip away people's democratic rights.
Yeah, and it's.
Do you think that's a complaint? Do you think that's logical?
It's just I
Do you
don't
think
know.
his wife doesn't deserve this?
We're talking about is if these words came out of Rishi Sunak and not from a PR person talking to Rishi Sunak, trying to get him to say the right stuff, but his PR should be fired because that is the worst. That is the worst comparison.
I think it's terrible.
You know, and it's so like we're sending armament and we're sending all this stuff to Ukraine, but whilst also funding the other side.
Well, he was. I guess he's technically not. Well, it's hard to say.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to say.
I mean,
but,
the evidence speaks for itself.
But a delay of 4 months. It's you know.
Go on holiday and back. You know, and you could do a lot.
I know Infosystems is Infosys is a big company.
Yeah.
Like McDonald's has pulled out quicker than these guys have.
Well, he was telling other UK companies to do the same.
But yeah,
Life didn't.
Yeah, and
that's the worst thing about it.
He can tell other companies to pull out, but he's like, you can.
His wife doesn't wait. So he's telling it. This is a really good way of putting it. He's saying that everyone could get out of Russia, right?
Yeah.
And then his wife doesn't get out of Russia. His wife gets criticised for that, and then he thinks that's preposterous. That's awful.
Yeah.
You're literally criticising her for not doing what you had instructed the entire country to do.
And even if you pull it back to if we try and make this the weakest connection ever to this Will Smith thing, like Will Smith has a bigger reason to go and slap Chris Rock than he does to be angry at people for criticising.
Anything you'd expect him to be remorse,
because they're not criticising his wife.
They're criticising the fact that
they're criticising the fact that
working in Russia.
The company that she has as a she's what
it was a 4 million stake, 0.93%. That's a lot. Do you know what I mean? She owns the majority. If I'm wrong, 0.93 is nearly all of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So she's on the board. So she
probably is the board.
Probably is the board. So we
don't know that for certain.
We don't know that for certain, but she's got a big enough stake where she could pull. She could
have influence.
Yeah, and she
inherited it from her dad as well. Her dad set it up.
Okay, perfect. If she got criticised and then she released something saying, "Well, I've put forward something to 4 months ago to say that we pulled out, but I wanted to pull out."
Well, she has made comments like we're pulling out slowly and this kind of stuff.
But it's 4 months, man. 4 months.
It's pretty bad.
It's yeah.
It's ludicrous.
I would assume that when you have other companies that have done it, and have been told by the Chancellor to do it, it just nails home the one rule for them and one rule for Rishi Sunak's wife.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something else that's really worth mentioning, right, is why Ukraine is such an important war for the West. Not just, it's sad because people are having the rights stripped away from them. That's what this war is about. They're going to get their freedoms taken away if Russia was to win. Thankfully, the Ukrainians are doing excellent. But if you want to look at it in strategic terms, this is the first time democracy has ever been attacked. And this opens a door for China doing it and for other similar states doing it. And this is a challenge to Western superiority internationally. So they need to really be on the ball with this shit. Not have the wives making money in the country. It's so crazy to me. It's wild. And Elliot though, just to give you an idea of, do you think this guy needs the money? Because I have some stats for you.
Yeah, well,
he must be struggling.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got to get money out of Russia and dodge tax legally dodge tax. So, well, in fact, Elliot, he owns 4 homes, 4 cars. Came under flack for being out of touch with the British public after claiming he uses a Volkswagen Golf to get around London. He also owns a high-spec 94,000 Range Rover, a top-of-the-range Lexus, and a BMW in California, the mirror.
All he's doing with that is using his Volkswagen Polo.
Yeah, Volkswagen Golf.
He's using his Volkswagen Golf to pay less when he goes into London. That's all he's doing that for. Because if he takes the Land Rover through London, he'll get charged congestion, but he won't get as much for the Polo. So he's
it's tactical.
doing himself in by saying stupid things like
Can't
that.
think about it like that, but I think, you know, again, it's disingenuous because it's making people think, oh, he's got a golf, he must be just like us, but in reality, he owns 4 cars and 4 homes.
Well, he's got 2 children and his wife, so he needs 4 homes.
Yeah, well,
But again, we're not criticising people being successful, but for a guy who's the Chancellor and who is there for the betterment, he's there for the betterment of Britain and the people
That's
that
what he's
are in
elected
it,
to do.
and you know, help the people of Britain with the money.
Mm-hmm. But no.
You know, it doesn't look good.
Doesn't look good
with what his wife's doing and owning 4 homes and that many cars.
And wait, it gets better, Elliot. Okay. The National also reported on the 25th of April, Sunak spends $13,000 a year on heating his swimming pool, which is 6.5 times the average energy bill of a family spends on a home.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Bro, we had this conversation a little bit because obviously we looked at the notes together before we did this because we wanted to have an idea of what we were going to talk about. We should just use Rishi Sunak's pools as a metric for things, you know what I mean?
So yeah,
so what a new car, it's free Rishi Sunak pools.
Yeah, I think we'll do it for the podcast.
Yeah,
now. When we mention any monetary value, we'll compare it to
Rishi Sunak's pools.
How many years we can heat Rishi Sunak's pool for?
It is it's a tough note to say.
£13,000 is a stupid amount of money to spend on
I know. But this just goes to show, you know, like the type of life he's living and why, again, they're so disconnected from like ordinary British people. Because all British people are eating the 13 grand pool, right?
Yeah.
All of us are top of the Range Rovers at 94,000.
But
all of us are dodging tax and have a company that was still operating in Russia long before my husband told me we should leave. We've all doing that.
And it's the fact that so when you take a job as a member of parliament, it's you're a civil servant. You're a servant
to the people who are
You're a servant. That's hence why the wage for an MP is
so high.
Moderate in terms of it's not high.
Yeah, but it's because basically the idea is back in the day, MPs were expected to own a house in London and own a house in the constituency.
And there usually isn't much pay. Right, I don't think there's any pay rises in MPs. It's just I think it's just a flat. MPs is flat.
But they always vote on pay rises for themselves.
Yeah, they try. They want pay rises.
No, they do. That's what they do. They have votes.
But it should be. They should be going for the job because they want to better the country, not for the monetary.
That's the issue with politics. Like people with Labour, people on both sides are going to be evil, but there's 650 of them. Do you know what I mean? You're going to get some dicks.
Yeah, exactly.
And the important thing to note is there should be at least 1 or 2 decent people in there. It's just about finding them. Do you know what I mean? We're sat here talking about politics because we care about the country and our families in it. You'd expect some of the other people in politics to feel the same way. You would hope that they're not all massively corrupt anyway.
Yeah,
but this is a new level of corruption.
Like recently,
oh shit, I said the C word.
Yeah,
well, a new level of
we'll bleep that
bad. We'll bleep it out.
Yeah.
We bleep out the C word, guys. We'll bleep it out.
And I think, obviously, Rishi Sunak's got all this. You know, he's heats his pool. He's got all these cars. He's got all these houses. But he's so nonchalant with the UK economy. Yeah. Like borrow, give.
Well, he actually lost.
He has a loan that you have to repay in the future. It's such a. He's so.
It's pretentious.
He's so blunt with what he does.
Yeah.
Like he's obviously successful.
So obviously he's faking.
How's his wife? His wife
Playboy millionaire.
Yeah, his wife should be. Can his wife not give him any
what?
Any advice on how to run an economy better? Because it seems like she knows more about it. But I guess she knows how to do special economy.
It gets better. I forgot about this part, to be fair. I thought we were done on Rishi, but there actually is a little bit more. Okay. We're going to show a picture, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically Rishi Sunak, as you guys can probably see if you're watching on YouTube, with a Kia Rio at Sainsbury's refueling it. The caption reads, "It's 6 p.m. The biggest cut to all fuel duty rates ever has just come into effect. Fuel's now more expensive."
Yeah.
However, the car he's posing with doesn't belong to him. It belongs to the Sainsbury's employee.
And it's the fact that they couldn't even find someone in his PR team or someone in his team to get a car for him.
He gets a petrol though. He gets a petrol.
He does, but
£20 or £30 he gives the employee.
A Kia Rio, which is a very fuel efficient car, and something that he definitely, as we've seen, doesn't drive unless he's trying to. Only trying to get the. No, we're not going to assume that. We're not going to assume that's the reason he does it, but it seems. When you own a top of the range Range Rover, and what was the other car? A Lexus. I don't think
BMW and telephone.
I don't think he's using the. I think he's going to be commuting in the one that's going to be the cheaper.
Yeah, I agree. That would make sense.
But
it's just crazy again though, because it's so out of touch again, because he's literally using someone else's car to try and get good clout.
Well, yeah, and if I want to be a fly in the room when they were discussing how well this is gonna go.
You'd expect someone would be sat there shouting.
They were like, right, Rishi, you're gonna get this. Like,
we're gonna walk over these reminiscent.
Yeah, we're gonna get them
for the car.
Ask them for the car. Hopefully, it's a Kia Rio or a really cheap car.
That went down.
And then what we're gonna do? You're gonna fill it up. And you're gonna look like you're gonna look a badass.
Wait, I have a question, right? Do you rate they just actually approached? So, like, let's say you're the Sainsbury's employee and you're just working at Sainsbury's, and then all of a sudden the Chancellor and he's like mob of PR crew and his cameras just descend upon you and they're like, "We need your car. We'll pay you 20-30 quid for it."
Does anybody have a cheap car?
How did this happen though? Do you get what I mean? Why is it the Sainsbury's employee's car? He must have went to a Sainsbury's and asked the employee for the car.
It shows, it shows that there's a bit of lack of planning, and
it feels
it's blatant lack of planning because it looks it's fake. It's
fake, but the thing is, in their minds,
they thought that was good.
Yeah, they do think it's good, but the reason why they think it's good is because they actually think this is relatable.
Yeah.
I'll crack the code. They think this is what ordinary people are like.
But again, without us telling you, you wouldn't know that it costs £13,000 a year to heat his swimming pool, which is like £13,000.
Probably more than I'm making. So,
well, yeah.
Probably saying how much.
Which is second. Obviously, we're very
well, it's all right.
But I just want to
We want to be precise. We're like the scalpel, not the hammer.
Yeah. Which is the exact cost nearly of a new Kia Rio.
What?
So you can either heat his house for a year or have a Kia Rio.
What is Rishi so much? You should make that forecast 5 cars.
That comes with a 7-year warranty as well.
Well, Rishi, get on that, lad.
He could have not heated his pool for 1 year, bought a Kia Rio, went to refuel it at Sainsbury's, and it wouldn't have looked as bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is insane that that Sainsbury's employee's car they have bought because it's cheap and it's a runaround.
Well, you didn't buy it. Oh, yeah, you mean
they bought it.
Yeah.
Is the same
2 virtue signal, which is all.
It's using a 2 virtue signal, and it's such a bad virtue signal because you read into it like we've got the information here for you, and it's the same it costs him to heat his pool in a year.
Yeah, it's insane. It's just disrespectful, isn't it?
And I can't believe it. I can't believe that this is actually happening.
Yeah, well, this is what makes it
so close to satire.
I can't help but, like, you're looking at me now and I'm smiling. Yeah, it's kind of hilarious because it's so bad.
You're waiting for the laughing track.
Yeah, you are. We don't need conspiracy theories, guys. We fucking are living in one, and the evidence is there.
It's
from
so stupid.
Everyone, it's crazy.
And you know what? The Rishi Sunak and his current government would have been better off if they didn't do that.
I agree, definitely not. That's
they're
giving us ammunition. Do you know what I mean? It's our smoking gun. It's another part of our smoking gun.
And again, it just shows, like I said, it's out of touch, and it's
an insult.
It's the fact that that if they didn't do it, they'd be better off. But someone, Rishi Sunak, in his infinite wisdom, decided that's
the thing to say. He doesn't.
That would help.
Yeah, no, and on top of that, the caption is hilarious. It's 6 p.m. the biggest cut to fuel duties ever come in. That's not to win.
I'll do a breakdown on how the way fuel is done. So you got fuel duty.
Yeah,
which is fuel duty is a tax.
Right.
And then you pay VAT on top of that.
Right.
So that equates to about 45% of the total fuel cost, and the rest is like refining and then the oil companies. So what happened was he did a 5p cut to fuel duty, which takes 5p off the tax of it, but doesn't necessarily mean that the oil company, the company, Shell or BP has to lower it.
I see. Wow.
So they basically Rishi Sunak has give 5p per litre.
Well, it's not the case anymore, is it? Because fuel's gone up again.
Well, yeah, fuel's gone up again, but at that time, he's basically giving 5p to the oil companies for free.
Nice.
So I wonder how much that's actually racked up to.
Yeah.
I don't want to put a figure down, but it's a lot of money.
It's
a lot of money, and it's a stupid idea.
Do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness.